Hello and welcome to Josh TH Crypto News. So today we're talking about Polygon, Matic, the possibility of admin keys. Now, I have talked about Polygon before on my channel. I used to do a thing called the Quick Swap Report. So at least for my subscribers, I just wanted to share something with you that may be a bit of a concern. Now, it is fairly common with DeFi projects to have admin keys, but I'm just gonna play this little clip from Richard Hart about the admin keys, and then I will play a letter written by Chris Bleck, who is talks about DeFi on a regular basis for a long time now, and while he's not a developer, he is pretty reasonable, and you got to be aware of the things where DeFi may have not be as decentralized as you may think, and it's just something to be aware of. So a very quick clip from Richard Hart, because he has probably publicized this the most within the crypto community. Now you may say Richard Hart is biased because he's coming out with the Pulse chain, which is not exactly an ETH scaling solution, but it is a more scalable ETH type thing, so maybe he is biased against Polygon. But let's just look at the facts. So first, here we go, Richard Hart. And Chris Bleck is not involved in Pulse Chain, Hex, or anything like that, so he is what I would consider respected, more unbiased thing. And I've been following Chris Bleck for a while. So first from Richard Hart, this is probably what you may be seeing.
Keeps asking, Hex on Matic worth buying or not? I mean, I don't like Matic because they have admin keys and they could steal all your money whenever they want with no time delay at all. Not your keys, not your coins. So if you deposit money into Matic, they could just take it whenever they want. Seems really stupid, right? Because it's really stupid. It's the opposite of why cryptocurrency was invented. Cryptocurrency was invented to get rid of counterparty risk. So stop trying to introduce counterparty risk, please.
Yeah, I mean, these things may work out for a while, but then again, eventually through government, through bad intentions, through many things, could crumble. And if you're invested in crypto for the long term, you should be concerned about. So I believe this letter was dated in May, but I don't think the issue has been resolved. And the reason, Chris Bleck will get into this, the reason they have this admin keys, it's a multi-sig, but it's to upgrade the platform. But just to let you guys know, I am selling some of my Polygon for other things, so just letting you know that. But here's the letter.
Polygon. Second letter to Polygon about Multisig. Chris Bleck. May 27th, 2021, 8 minutes read.
And I may or may not interject comments as I see fit.
Today, a follow-up letter was sent by DeFi Watch to Jane T. Kanani of Polygon. If a response is received, we will publish it right away. Follow Chris Bleck on Twitter for updates. May 27th, 2021. Jane T. Kanani, CEO and co-founder Polygon, formerly Matic. Dear Mr. Kanani, members of your team have made it exceedingly clear to me both publicly and privately that Polygon does not intend to respond to the questions that I posed in my last letter dated May 20th, 2021. This is quite a disappointing development, as since I publicized the letter, hundreds of members of the DeFi community, including many Polygon users, have expressed a great interest in learning more about Polygon's centralization risks. The fact that your team has chosen...
By the way, the link to this article, to this letter, will be posted in the description, and also, as he will mention, you can follow him on Twitter for more updates. This is kind of a big deal because Polygon is one of the largest type of network like this.
The fact that your team has chosen to remain opaque on these issues while accruing billions of dollars in total value locked TVL is concerning to many. Your team has indicated that it feels unfairly singled out since multi-sig security in DeFi is a widely used strategy. While it is true that many projects in DeFi use a similar multi-sig security structure to Polygon, we have never seen TVL under a single multi-sig grow to the level that you have achieved. We can no longer sit back and simply say, this is the way that it is. There is now far too much at stake. It is time for all participants in this system to engage in open conversation about the questions that we have raised. Your team has also stated that any discussion of problems without offering solutions is a waste of time. I disagree vehemently with this idea. It is very possible for a problem to exist without a pleasant or productive solution. The lack of a solution that meets the team's approval does not mean that the problem should not be identified, discussed, and addressed by the community as it sees fit. In the absence of a response from your team, the onus is left on members of the community, such as myself, to make educated guesses as to what the answers to the questions might be. I will attempt to provide some level-headed speculation here. If you find errors, I encourage you to reply publicly to correct me. Important note, I am not a software developer and am engaging in speculation, not allegation. The opinions that follow, including but not limited to ruminations about the possibility of character flaws of any involved individuals, is pure opinion and conjecture and should not be considered to be factual by the recipient or by anyone else who receives it. The stated intent of this material is solely to speculate on what centralization risks may exist and what may be possible based on whatever information that is currently available to me or not available to me. 1. Does the security of the Polygon network rely on the skill, honesty and integrity of 5 of the 8 multi-sig keyholders? It appears safe at this point for users to assume that the answer to this question is yes. If Polygon's multi-sig keyholders do not act with skill, honesty and integrity, it appears that the multi-sig could be exploited, stolen or otherwise compromised by either internal or external actors. As was made clear in a series of tweets from Polygon's Twitter account, this multi-sig apparently does have the power to upgrade the Matic staking contract, which is a critical piece of Polygon's network security. So, we must assume that users are required to trust in the positive traits of both named and unnamed multi-sig keyholders for the survival of the network, and that users are required to trust that the team has some sort of willingness and incentive to stand up to regulatory attacks from very powerful.
Now, what you might be thinking is, but it's validators controlling the network. But if you can change the rules, but we'll get into that. But if you search Polygon admin keys, there's a Reddit thread, and people don't seem to be knowing about this. So you have to scroll down a little bit to get to this letter. But anyway.
So, we must assume that users are required to trust in the positive traits of both named and unnamed multi-sig keyholders for the survival of the network, and that users are required to trust that the team has some sort of willingness and incentive to stand up to regulatory attacks from very powerful governments.
Now, what people might point to as the incentive for the keyholders to not steal all the money is that they have a lot of Polygon tokens and they're making so much money on the Polygon tokens. But if things start to go down, they could change that at any time. And the incentive to make money in the future, I mean, one in the hand is two in the bush, and it may not even be there. They may be forced to do something.
So, we must assume that users are required to trust in the positive traits of both named and unnamed multi-sig keyholders for the survival of the network, and that users are required to trust that the team has some sort of willingness and incentive to stand up to regulatory attacks from very powerful governments. This concept allows for a debate to begin over whether or not Polygon can be considered to be more centralized than exchanges such as Binance or Coinbase, which employ more gatekeepers and safeguards than Polygon's multi-sig model would likely allow for. 2. What is the...
And even if you were to say, well, their identities are known, so, I mean, if their identities are known, it's more easy for governments to track them down, and if their identities even if their identities are known, though, people disappear in crypto all the time. You may have heard of that Brazilian exchange. The founders most likely ran off with $3 billion, and now they're disappeared. It happens. It really does happen. If you're new to crypto, you might not think it does, but hacks, fraud, theft, all this stuff this is crypto, baby. Wild, wild west.
2. What is the worst outcome that could result if the 5 of 8 staking contract multisig were to be compromised? This is a question that is very difficult to answer for someone who is not familiar with every aspect of Polygon's smart contract code. Therefore, unless you can add more clarification, we will need to assume that the worst outcome of the multisig being compromised would be a total network meltdown. The assumption is that transactions would not be able to occur, funds would be frozen, and the validator consensus mechanism would grind to a halt. There are likely other possible outcomes that would not be as nightmarish as this one, however the question asks specifically for the worst case scenario. Risk evaluation in DeFi is not about what is likely. It's about what's possible. 3. What evidence can the community consider as proof that each of the 8 signing keys is in the sole possession of a unique individual, and that one individual does not hold more than one signing key? Multisigs have some existential problems when they are used as a security mechanism for a smart contractor, in this case, an entire blockchain.
This is really interesting discussion about DeFi projects in general. For people that follow my channel that like QuickSwap, I believe QuickSwap has Multi-Sig that controls the token supply that's dishing it out to the liquidity providers for the farming rewards. And they're getting some, so it's like, you would have to collaborate to do something bad, and maybe that does lower the risk, but then do you even really know, and how did these people get these keys? Were they copied, compromised, etc.? So really interesting, just DeFi, decentralized discussion in general here. Yeah, and this is the nice thing. Let me just shill a bag here. This is the nice thing about Hex, no admin keys. I mean, the only bad thing is the OA. There's some centralization and ownership that could crash the price, but no admin keys. The code is the code. The code will never be changed.
That problem is that there is generally no way to prove that each of the keys resides in the hands of a unique individual, and that no individual holds more than one key. Obviously, if one person held 2 or more keys, that would partially invalidate the 5 of 8 security model. Unless great care was taken during the key ceremony to produce evidence that all keys are in the hands of unique individuals from the point at which they are generated, then we must assume that the answer to this question is no. If this is the case, and assuming there are no legal affidavits or other regulatory requirements that the organization must abide by, which there likely are not, then users have no logical reason to believe that the keys are uniquely owned, outside of the mere word of the members of the Polygon team. 4. How can users be assured that the private keys and/or mnemonics underlying each of the 8 signing keys were generated in a secure fashion, have been secured properly throughout their existence, and were not compromised before being designated as a multisig signer? Another existential problem with using multisigs as DeFi security mechanisms is that there is rarely a way to prove that the private key or mnemonic that each keyholder is using to secure their signing key was created in a secure fashion and has remained secure since its origin. Typically, when a multisig signing key is generated, each signer provides an Ethereum address to the key generator. That address is then authorized as a signing key. Each address provided, however, was likely generated by an Ethereum wallet belonging to each new signer. That Ethereum wallet has a security model unto itself and was created under a specific set of circumstances that may or may not have resulted in it being compromised from its origin. For instance, unless an unprecedented level of care was taken, there is no way to prove that a Polygon multisig signer doesn't hold their signing key in a MetaMask hot wallet that was created in a public coffee shop with video surveillance on a computer with keylogging malware. Obviously, if this were the case, there are several ways that the wallet could have been compromised long before the signing key was ever assigned to it.
In other words, guys, using MetaMask without a hardware wallet is like fucking a hoe without a condom.
Obviously, if this were the case, there are several ways that the wallet could have been compromised long before the signing key was ever assigned to it. Therefore, unless Polygon can offer some sort of proof that every signing wallet was generated securely, users must assume that one or more of the signing wallets could have been compromised before the key ceremony. 5. Which jurisdictions govern the individual multisig keyholders, and are any keyholders breaking any local or national laws by participating in the multisig? To the best of my knowledge, Polygon has not specifically named any multisig signers. Your team has stated that 4 of the 8 signers are Polygon co-founders, and the other 4 are people associated with DeFi projects built on Polygon. There is likely...
Now that there is some credence to that, 4 to the founders and 4 to DeFi projects, because, if you're, like Aave is on Polygon, they have some stuff on Polygon. It might make them feel better if they have one of the keys. But again, it's still counterparty risk. But I do like that they did that. At least they did that. Hopefully, if it's a little opaque. But anyway.
There is likely no way to prove that this is true. Users would probably need to trust your word to believe that the signing keys are in the hands of the individuals that you claim. Therefore, it is impossible for users to know which countries the keys and keyholders exist in. Even if users were to assume that what you say is true, there is still no way for users to know in which countries the keyholders live, in which countries they may have seizable assets, in which countries their families own property, etc.
I really hate to be a Debbie Downer, but this is just, y'all, awareness, knowledge is power, wisdom. I really hate that crypto isn't, it's getting there. It's getting there, but, I still think Polygon is probably perhaps a better option than Binance Smart Chain, but yeah.
Even if users were to assume that what you say is true, there is still no way for users to know in which countries the keyholders live, in which countries they may have seizable assets, in which countries their families own property, etc. Any of these countries could claim jurisdiction over a multi-sig signer and attempt to force that signer to comply with new or existing regulations. 6. Where is Polygon's managing corporation incorporated, and how many of the 8 keyholders are employees of said corporation? According to a tweet from your team, the Matic Foundation has registered corporate entities in India, Singapore, Belgrade, Serbia, and the British Virgin Islands, and this therefore makes Matic completely immune to any geography-specific regulatory concerns. Unless you can explain otherwise, then users should assume that each of these corporate entities and its members' employees is subject to rule of law of the nation in which it exists. For users to truly believe that Matic and therefore Polygon employees are somehow immune to the rule of law of each of these nations would be quite a leap of faith. Regardless, it's naive to believe that governments will always act within the boundaries of existing laws and regulations. Governments tend to act quite irrationally, quite often. Based on this, it seems that users rule out the possibility that one or more of these countries could attempt to force Polygon members to comply with existing, or yet to be created, regulations and laws surrounding cryptocurrency. 7. How would the Polygon Matic Corporation or team react to a forceful government request to modify the staking contract or otherwise interfere with the continuity of transactions on the Polygon network? For users to speculate on how the corporation which controls Polygon's Multisig would react to a forceful, possibly unfair regulatory attack will take a great deal of speculation. The best way to approach this is to do so based on incentives. Such resistance could result in asset seizures, sanctions, or possibly even jail time for Multisig signers. What incentive does the Polygon team have to resist a regulatory attack and face these potential penalties? It seems most likely that the incentive to comply with these kind of government requests, whether or not they are legal or fair, would be much stronger than the incentive to resist them and pay a considerable price. Therefore, reasonable users could come to the conclusion that it's possible, and perhaps even likely, that Polygon keyholders could eventually find themselves in a position where they must cooperate with government requests to modify, freeze or otherwise compromise the integrity of Polygon in any way that they can using the centralized control of the Multisig. 8. How can users be assured that the Multisig signers will not collude to intentionally compromise the security of the Polygon network, if financial incentives ever exist to do so?
I mean, guys, you know all it would take is the United States being like, yo. I mean, I don't know. I would like to hope, I am in the United States citizen. I do believe in freedom, but, we can be kind of dicks. We like the dollar. We got an army. Army's backing the dollar. Don't say the dollar ain't backed by nothing.
The Polygon staking contract Multisig appears to have the power, with the approval of 5 of 8 signers, to upgrade a smart contract which secures over $1 billion of staked Matic tokens. Aside from the risks posed to the security of the network, there also appears to exist a large financial incentive for members of the team to attack those funds. Unfortunately, DeFi is an area of technology that is full of amazing innovation accompanied by treacherous deceit. When users are required to trust a small number of individuals with unfettered access to over $1 billion in deposits, they must take human nature into consideration. As stated above, this is not intended to be an attack on anyone's character. It is an impersonal discussion of what is possible, not what is likely. It seems quite possible that there is no financial incentive for the multisig signers that could be valued at more than $1 billion. Therefore, it's unfortunate but not unreasonable for users to believe that 5 of 8 signers on this multisig could be tempted to collude to steal funds. With this letter, I am attempting again to start a conversation between your team and concerned community members. I ask that you please respond to this letter with valid and transparent counterpoints to the speculation that I've offered here. This is not just about Polygon anymore. It's about building resilience in DeFi. We rely on DeFi's most successful and influential projects to lead the way, and that onus has now fallen to Polygon. Contact me at defitips@protonmail.com to arrange for a public voice chat via Twitter Spaces, or send a written response which I will gladly publish on my website defywatch.net. Alternately, I suggest publishing a blog post which offers the greater community a response to these very legitimate concerns. With sincere hope for a productive conversation. Chris Bleck, founder, DeFi Watch. Sign up for more like this. Enter your email, subscribe. Inquiry into Uniswap's DeFi Defense Fund proposal.
So, I hope I'm not going to lose too many subscribers for posting this. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you appreciate, I'm not trying to say they're going to do this. I'm not trying to say they're just fattening up the pig for the slaughter. But anyway, that has been today's episode. Maybe let me know if you want what kind of content you'd like to see from me. This is just a hobby. But I was thinking of roasting crypto YouTubers. I was thinking about talking about Pulse Chain a little bit. I'm not super an expert on it. But anyway, have a good one.